what is your opinion on, because I'm seeing online there's a lot of women who all want to go to Oshun. And
I got stories about that.
Okay, I'm gonna let you tell me in a minute.
The Oshun thing is not even about witchcraft so much, but it's about the trauma that has been done to our black women. Right? And it's deep, it's ingrained, and this is one of the things. So Oshun represents beauty and all of, those type of things, sensuality of what some people would say, right? And that level of attention is what a lot of women are fighting for.
Because it says all the time in IFA that a good character is more powerful than Ęgbę. Ekabo, and welcome to another episode of Talking IFA with me, Babalawo Salako. In today's episode, I have the pleasure of interviewing Chief Olu Ela Fayinka of Brooklyn, New York. Now, his roots and his lineage is Shango Baptist, but he then went to IFA. So we had a great discussion today. I think you're really going to enjoy it. We covered a lot of topics. But before we get started, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to this channel so we can continue to grow and help as many people as possible. With that being said, let's talk. Greetings. I'm Babalawo Salako. I was initiated as a priest of Ifa and Obatala in Nigeria in 2006, and I've been practicing the Ifa Orisha religion for over 30 years now. My mission is simple: to help those who are new to the religion or lost in the religion. So if that's you, then buckle up and join me. This is Talking IFA. Ekabo, and welcome to another episode of Talking IFA with me, Babalawo Salako. Today I have the great pleasure of interviewing Chief
Olu Ela Fayinka
of Brooklyn, New York, right? And what's the name of your Ile?
Ile Osakaran, Etopoinka, Yoruba Cultural and Spiritual Temple.
Okay, and you've been around quite a while up there, right?
The temple in its original form was established in 2000.
Okay.
But my lineage is yielding from the Trinidad lineage of Orisha worship, Shango Baptist.
Okay.
So this is where I started out, and Spirit has, continued to help us to grow and led us back to Nigeria in 2012. Me and my wife had initiated to IFA, Oshun, as she had initiated to. And we, had started to integrate now the lineage that we came from with traditional IFA.
Okay.
And we've been able to continue to grow from there to this point, yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. So, where were you born?
I was born in Guyana.
In Guyana, okay.
But I migrated to the United States, Brooklyn, New York, specifically, when I was 2.
Okay.
So I grew up in the streets of Brooklyn.
So, what brought you? Were your parents in the culture? Or?
Actually, not. My mother had a spiritual experience, and then she came into the lineage of the spiritual Baptists. Fought to try to get me and me specifically into it. Those times, like I said, I was a child of the streets in that time. But there came a certain point in time where I just got a conviction of myself. Basically saying that I needed to change my life, or otherwise it would have been it would have been a grim outcome. And that was something that directly came to me, and I went to her and I told her that I wanted to, change my life and so forth, and she took me to the leader of the church she was going to, and it was from there that I moved into my spirituality. That was when I was about 15.
15, okay.
Yeah. And from there, I, followed what was presented to me, which was the spiritual Baptist. And but it was the spiritual Orisha Baptist. So the thing that captivated me was seeing a manifestation of the Orisha when I went to this particular church, because she had taken me to other churches before, but it never resonated with me. So it was the drums and the the manifestation of one of the Orishas that really captivated me, that brought me fully into my spirituality. And rising through the ranks within that lineage and growing spiritually, Spirit was able to lead us back to Nigeria, in where we started to fully take on the traditional lineage of IFA.
Okay.
Before we move on with the podcast, I want to tell you about something I know you're going to love. Discover Ashe Life. Get your high quality t-shirts and long sleeves featuring powerful Orisha designs like Oshun, Yemoja, Shango, and many more. They come available in multiple colors. These are comfortable fits made to wear every day. And this is more than just clothing. Ashe Life is about walking in blessings, embracing your path, and carrying that divine energy with you. So visit AsheLife.com today and wear your Ashe. From the family behind talkingifa, Ashe.
So is the Trinidadian version big in New York?
Absolutely, yeah, it
Okay.
is. It is. It is very big in Brooklyn, New York. That's for sure. There are many spiritual Baptist churches and so forth. Now, spiritual Baptist is very prevalent. Shango Baptist, the Orisha alignment, is still is prevalent very much, but there is an apprehension between the two with it, right? Because of the regular struggles that we have of our people accepting what we originally came from.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
The influence of Christianity and so forth has brought this kind of thing that our ancestral situations are, demonic, and so on and so forth, right? So there are some people that will take on the spiritual Baptist part because it's so much Christian base, and they'll be comfortable, but as soon as you introduce the Orishas and so forth, then they kind of fall back off of it and they have different things to say. So even amongst that lineage, there is that type of separation that stems back to colonialism and slavery and so forth.
So what would you say are the primary differences then in terms of what they believe in terms of the spiritual Baptist versus Shango Baptist?
Ancestral reverence.
One does and one doesn't?
Correct. I mean, the Orisha community would align with the ancestral reverence parts of it, understanding where the Orisha stem from, the lineage that it's come from, and they will embrace that, while the more staunch spiritual Baptists will align with Christianity.
Okay.
And stick on that.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the main difference of the situation right there.
Okay, that's something new. I wasn't aware of that. I knew some people who started in, they said Shango Baptist. I didn't know the comparison between the spiritual Baptist and Shango Baptist.
Yeah. Because the Shango within the Yoruba community and the Orisha community, the Shango Baptist is what they're going to know about. Because and this is not me saying that I have any real problem with Christianity. I believe that the teachings thereof, if you align it with any other spirituality, it says the same thing. You understand? But what people have done and how it's been utilized to subjugate our people and sway us from where our strength really lies is where the problem is. And unfortunately, as we know around the world, the diaspora, every place, even in Nigeria, you understand? Christianity has been pressed in such a way that it makes people release and try to relinquish what their roots have come from.
Right.
Right, and make it seem like it's so evil and it's so bad. So what we would know of it is, we would know of the traditionalists would know of the Shango Baptist, because that's what embraces, everything, coming from, minus IFA, because the Shango Baptists were not, just like many other lineages, were not very heavy with Ifa, as Ifa didn't spread as well as the Orisha worship did. Right. But minus that, they're very high on ancestral reverence, Orisha devotion, and so on and so forth. Within the Trinidad system, I mean, the Trinidad lineage is one of the lineages that depended highly on manifestation. So you would get these different Orishas manifesting, because where Ifa was lacking, the Orisha had to step in to give the knowledge and the guidance that was necessary.
Right.
So that happened. So they're very high on Orisha veneration.
That's great.
So yeah. It leaves the right space for Ifa to be introduced and then take hold, because they're there.
Right. So the other thing I was thinking, what do you think about, the religion is spreading a lot now, especially here in the West, right? All over the world, actually, but here in the United States. But there seems to be a lot of people who are coming to it from, they see celebrities who are supposedly doing it. What do you think about that?
I just think it's the natural plight of the situation. It's just the natural movement, right? I believe that Ifa has a verse that says, there are those who have come to do, those who have come to assist, those who have come to do, and those who have come to bystand. Those who have come to do, whether good or evil, are few. Those who have come to assist, those who have come to do is a little more, and those who have come to bystand is the vast majority. The bystanders are always going to be the ones needing to be led, right? So now celebrities being some people who have that ability to do and to lead, one way or the other, right? They have the ability to lead, and Ifa directly says, the people who have come to do either good or evil.
Right.
All right? So once they have that ability to do, then they have the ability to move the masses. They have the ability to sway the crowd and open up the door. And those who have come to bystand will always need that. This is why governments would always look to control the media.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you control the media, then you control where the people go.
Oh, yeah.
So my thing about it is, we don't ever want to be in the position of worshiping individuals and so forth and things, but there's some of us that have been placed here to lead, right? And then I believe that leadership is just a natural thing that is going to bring the people to where they need to get to.
Oh, right. And the main issue there is, where are they leading to?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, I agree, especially in terms of the government. You have to learn how to think and look deeper into situations and to research. And most of our people don't know how to research because, in terms of the media, for instance, because the way that we used to research, when we go to the library, they would say, okay, we'll go in and find 3 sources. And then if you have 3 sources, then you have some verification. Well, the problem with that now is, since the government controls the media, you can go to 3, 4, 10 sources and they're all saying the same thing and they're all been told to lie to you, and you're still misled.
Right.
So what I try to tell people is to find the truth, and the research today, even though there's a lot of information, is much more difficult.
Right.
You have to put in a lot more work. You have to get a lot more to get validation there. So when it comes to what we have to do, that's one of the reasons I started this podcast, because there's a lot of people who are leading people in the wrong direction.
Yes.
this religion is growing. It's one of the fastest growing religions in the world, actually, according to the Ęgbę Ęgbę Ebola. And I see it here in Atlanta. But if people are jumping on for fads and they're going in the wrong direction, I see that as a problem. And so we have to fight back with,
right.
All we can do is start small.
Right.
And
Right, but it's a natural order that it has to be, because something has to give the spark.
Oh yeah.
Right, and it's always gonna need some spark to bring interest. Like I said, when I was coming into my spirituality, my mother actually took me to 2 different churches, just trying to get me to change my life. Mm-hmm. Right, and she put me to be baptized in both of those churches. And the night of, and 2 separate times, the night of the baptism, I said I wasn't going, right? Uncharacteristically with her, she just didn't force me, which was very interesting, because she could have been a forceful type of person, right? When she took me to this 3rd church, I had already received a certain guidance that opened me up. One of the questions that came to me, I wonder if God's Spirit comes and speaks to man. Mm-hmm. That was a thought between 14 and 15 that came to me. Mm-hmm. When I went to this specific church now, same spiritual Baptist church, but it just had the Orisha part, which would make it the Shango Baptist.
Right.
Manifestation of Ogun came down. And immediately that spark resonated with me, and it caused me to shift.
Okay.
Had that not happened, I might have walked away from that church too. So what I'm saying all that to say is, it's the spark that sends people further down the road.
Right.
Now what we have to do is be the people of truth. There's a lot of things going on in the faith, yes, that are not the best and so forth, but all we can do is push the truth as much as possible,
right? So
that people can get it, so that it's not a fad to them. We gotta push the necessity of venerating Ori even more than Orisha, so that people can start to understand, how to align with their destiny, how to get to the points that something in them is drawing them to. Mm-hmm. They're just not understanding what it is. Right? In the beginning, we wouldn't understand.
But first, I want to encourage you to align your 2026 with IFA Orisha tradition. The 2026 IFA Days calendar and planner are here. So you can track your Itado Gun days, the 4-day week, the sacred Orisha days, to keep your spiritual path in focus. This is perfect for organizing your rituals, your growth, your daily life, all in one place. So I strongly encourage you to secure your IFA Orisha history today. Get yours now at talkingifa.carrd.co. talkingifa.carrd.co. So speaking about that, Iwa, Iwa Pele, Iwa Lessing. So, that, a lot of people get into it, like you said, for different reasons. So when you have manifestation of the Orisha, that's very powerful. That's a lot of evidence and proof for people that, this is real. Mm-hmm. Especially when they speak, when the Orisha speak, and if they speak, like one time, I won't say a name because she's a celebrity now, I won't call her out. But we had something, had a retreat in the mountains, and she was, Obatala came through her. And when she was speaking in a male voice with an African accent and giving everybody advice, So a lot of that gives people evidence of stuff, but beyond that, what happens is, if they haven't seen that, Iwa doesn't seem to be giving the priority that is needed, because it says all the time in Ifa that good character is more powerful than Ęgbę.
That's right.
If you want things to work, if a person, and they say if you're doing whatever, if you're doing magic or anything else you're doing, if you have low character, that is rendered ineffective. So a lot of people don't understand the power of also approaching Iwa Pele in this when they come in. So what do you think the state of that is in how people are worshiping today in the United States particularly?
Well, I definitely believe that much more emphasis is given to everything else. Mm-hmm. Much more emphasis is given to the Orisha and everything else. I won't even directly say Ifa. Mm-hmm. Much more emphasis is given to Orisha worship and different things like that. And I believe it's not, and it's more than a belief. The fact of the matter is that we have to, when people are coming in, start to push the truth of the matter, which is just what you just said, right? Mm-hmm. The truth of the matter is that our character is dependent on our blessing. One of the problems I believe is, though, why people are coming to the faith, mm-hmm. right? People are coming looking for answers that are on the outside of themselves.
Right.
Colonialism has brought us with certain religions and so forth to believe that the answers are on the outside of us. Mm-hmm. Our savior is outside.
Right.
The devil made us do it.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. All of these dynamics that are outside of us, right? And what we have to do, we have to now, when coming to Ifa, worship and so forth, we have to start them off by knowing it's not on the outside of us. Mm-hmm. It is on, it's on us.
Right.
That things go right. Ifa says that, when Ormila had done a reading for someone and they came back to give him praise, he said, don't give me praise. It's your Ori. Mm-hmm. If your life is what you want it to be, it's your Ori that you should thank. Right. And if your life is not what you want it to be, it's your Ori that you should appease. Mm-hmm. That is a verse that's letting us know that everything is still within us. Right. Ogundo Warren tells us, to serve our Isheshe before any Orisha. No problem. So Ogunde Wari tells us, to serve our Isheshe. Mm-hmm. What is one's Isheshe? Olodumare is one's Isheshe. Is Isheshe we ought to appease before appeasing any Orisha. Mm-hmm. One's Ori is one's Isheshe. Is Isheshe we ought to appease before appeasing any Orisha.
Our mothers.
Our fathers, our lineage.
Right.
Is our Isheshe. Is Isheshe we ought to appease before appeasing any Orisha. Right. Right? Mm-hmm. But at the top of that is Olodumare and then our Ori. Mm-hmm. Right? We have to continue to let people know that we have to start to look within.
Oh, definitely.
Because the answer is not on the outside. Mm-hmm. So when we're talking about what needs to happen when coming to these things, we have to create the dynamic that aligns things properly. Right. Before we... Mm-hmm.
So, because a lot of the people who watch this are brand new, or maybe they're on the outside looking in, and I know you're talking a lot about Ori, and that might be a concept in general that might be tough for them because they may be able to understand what an Orisha is. Right. And okay, I get it. It's Orisha, da-da-da-da. But then when you start talking about Ori, that might be a foreign concept for them because it doesn't really apply to other religions that are mainstream as much. So what would you say if you were to explain it or describe it?
So it does align, it's just a different terminology. So all we're talking about is our own inner spirit. That voice that says, when something's happening, oh, you know what? I don't think I should go that way. Let me go this way. Mm-hmm. We're talking about our own inner spirit, right? That has the ability that is actually the seat of our destiny. But before we can even get to that, just has the ability to know right from wrong, right? So when we're talking about Ori, we're talking about our inner spirit, our spirit that led us to wherever we got to. If there was something within that celebrity that attracted me, it's my Ori that my spirit that was attracted to that. It led me there. If that now spawns an interest to make me go and do research on the faith, it's my own spirit that did that. It wasn't an outside person or an outside entity. It was that which was in me that felt like, I need to look into this. I need to and that is the spirit. As people are coming into the faith now, we have to let them know that spirit is more powerful more than any other spirit. Ęgbę tells us that the Ori is the greatest Orisha.
Right.
Ori is the greatest Orisha, right? So even Orisha starts with Ori. Ori is the greatest Orisha. So if that be the case, then we have to know. Ęgbę tells us that no Orisha can help us without the sanction of our Ori. That's the lesson, the teachings that we have to start to push, right? Because everything else is a part of colonialism, the way that we look at what is going to save us or what's going to get us to the levels that we need to get to.
Well, speaking of that issue, colonialism, that mindset. Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to Ori, I think that's one of the biggest hurdles, especially in this country, for people coming from another religion like Christianity. Because, like you said, they're used to looking outside of themselves. And another thing is, in this country, we have a rat race, right? So people come and they're tired. And a lot of times people are looking for a savior. I want to be saved. I'm just tired. I'm tired of this struggle. I'm tired of fighting. Just save me, And so right. Christianity provides that, you just come and just relax and lay your stuff here and you'll be saved as long as you do this. It's a lot more simpler. The problem with people I see that come new from that, and if they have that mindset, in this tradition, there's a lot more work. It's on us. Like they say, it's all up to us. It's all up to our Ori. We can't depend on something on the outside. The Orisha are only there as assistants. So like I say, I look at it like a football team, like we're the quarterback of our lives. The Orisha are like the running backs, the blockers, the receivers, that we control the ball. We decide on what we're going to do, which direction we're going to go, what decisions we're going to make. They're there to help us get to where we need to go. Right. But that's a lot of obligation. There's a lot more work and commitment that is required in this tradition. We can't just go and say, okay, let me confess my sins and now I'm good. It's a matter of continuous work, trying to pursue what it is we have in our Ori for, our highest, quote unquote destiny. So what do you tell people there in terms of how do you ease them that transition to get them out of that mindset that somebody's just going to save me, or I'm just going to go and say to this Orisha and they're just going to save me, versus I'm doing the work and they're assisting me?
Well, it's kind of like what he was saying earlier about doers.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this is almost a faith for the doers, because the people who are passive and the people who would rather just, show up, sit in the back of the church, cry, and then like, I did my spiritual work for the week. Like,
I always looked at it like the difference on a car. In our religion, we have to be mechanics too. We have to be able to lift the hood and go down and get dirty and do this. Whereas some other religions, the hood is closed. They take everything to somebody else, a mechanic, to change their light bulb or anything they're doing. Some of the things we have to do to work ourselves. So like you said, it is more of a doer, in my opinion.
So the whole thing about it is this. For every individual has to be a doer according to their own life, right? Mm-hmm. That broader statement of what IFA says about those who have come to do those, that's what is going to lead the whole motion forward. It's going to lead the whole world forward. Those who have been placed in position, those who have got, it's like a CEO, the board of trustees, and then the company, right? Mm-hmm. The CEO is responsible for the vision of the whole company, right? And they're going to move forward. But what has to be understood to any individual is the work that needs to be done to secure their life.
Right.
You understand? That's where they become the doer. Character needs to be defined in a more, clear way. You as an actor would understand character, right? If your life is a movie, you've been stated to be the main character in your movie. You can't play a secondary part. You can't play the co-star. You have to be in character, right? This is why Ifa says character is everything to destiny. Mm-hmm. It's not only about being a good person, it's about being the right good person. It's about being the person you're destined to be in character. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? So when we're trying to get it across to people, we have to let them know the greatest things that need to be built does take work. Mm-hmm. If you want to build a good life for yourself, then prepare to work towards it.
Right.
Prepare to do the work that is necessary for you to get to that better place.
Definitely.
So, we have to continually put it in their lap that it is dependent on you.
It's all up to you.
It's all up to you when coming to your life. Mm-hmm. Now, when we can get our life together and the plan that was made for our life, then we can start to serve the greater purpose of the plan that Olodumare had put together for the world. Mm-hmm. Because now we, in our character, have a place to stand.
Right.
We're too much seeing people who are just doctors because it's something that society said is prestigious, or it makes money.
Right.
Right? I personally have had experiences through my wife where I can tell the difference of someone that was destined to be a doctor mm-hmm. and somebody that is just a doctor.
Oh, definitely.
You understand? You feel the difference. And that feeling that you feel can mean the difference between life and death, depending on what the prognosis or the diagnosis is. Mm-hmm. Right? So, well, let me not make it political, but we can see where some people should not be what they are. They were, they are what they are, but they should not be that, right? So we have to constantly let people know that it's about playing the right part in your own life. It's about being in character. It's about doing the right things. And there is no one else that can actually do it for you. Yeah, we're the owls. We can tell you, but we can't force you.
Oh yeah, you can lead a horse to water,
but you can't make them drink.
Right.
You understand? Mm-hmm. Even for our children, mm-hmm. we can make the children, but we can't make their minds.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So even to that, we have to continually let them know you have to do the work.
Right. And that is the hard truth when you say bring truth, that a lot of people aren't ready to accept. And even with that, with Ori, so in my lineage, they teach that Ifa says, you pick your Ori before you come, you choose it. Ifa is a guidance. You have to go get divination during your life because you forgot tree of forgetfulness before you're born. So you have to get that guidance to try to get you back on path. But it's still just guidance. You have to do the work of getting back on path or doing whatever else you need to do, to get there. Nobody else is going to do that for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but we also teach that even though you chose your Ori before you came, Ifa can help you change it if that's what you wish to do, because not everybody chose a good Ori. So if you chose an Ori that keeps you in poverty or something like that, Ifa says you still have the power to go to Rumula through divinations and continuous divinations in Ęgbę and improve your situation and change your Ori, mm-hmm. right? So it's not that it's has to be fixed and permanent, mm-hmm. right? You can go above that. Mm-hmm. So it's still up to you,
Yes.
right? It's still up to you. The power is still in your hands to do the things you need to do. So we're here to kind of empower people
Yeah.
and let them know the power they have, but at the same time, you can't be lazy, so you have to get up and do your work.
Yeah, and that's the key behind it, because even when we talk about changing our Ori, we have to let people know we're talking about an aspect of Ori, a certain part of Ori. You know, we have the ability to adjust our destiny. Right. So with that now, it's exactly those words. We may have chosen a destiny that says, well, you know, we would be less fortunate in life, right? But if we come here and we develop the characteristics, because to be that, there's certain characteristics that go along with it, right? If we develop the characteristics of a hard-working person, then we have the ability to shift that.
Definitely.
Right? So, and those, again, like you said, it comes right back to the work that we need to do. Right. And like you said, even before that, that's the hard truth that a lot of people don't want to accept.
Right.
I know from, you know, being in, you know, my spirituality for over about 35 years almost. Yeah, like, if you want to be a spiritualist and make a lot of money, all you have to do is tell people that somebody did them something, or there's something else that's causing their misfortune.
Right.
Soon as you start to tell them the truth about the work that they need to do, well, you become the worst person.
Oh yeah.
For a lot of people. Right?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
You become you become the worst person, and they'll move on to someone else that would willingly or want to tell them that no, do this work and things will be better. A lot of people come into IFA, you know, really and truly there's traumas, there's so many different things that need to be looked into.
Definitely.
There is you know, deep shadow work that needs to be done. People want to be successful, but in their shadows there's doubt of self, there's fear. There's all of these things that's keeping them back from being who they want to be. Right? And that's the work that needs to be done. And from IFA, we'll see that. And we'll start to tell them that. But it's how they receive it. But
we can't change the way they think. We can't change. We can just guide them.
A lot of people need therapy.
They need therapy.
A lot of people need therapy.
Because they might already know, like, in order for me to change my life, I have to do something. But a lot of times when they're doing research on any faith, it's like an escape route for them. Like, well, or I could get a reading and talk to a babalawo and that'll fix it. And then you go to the babalawo and they're like, yeah, you have to do something. And they're like,
right, there we go. Right, exactly.
I'm going to go somewhere else.
Exactly. It's all right. The simple way out. And is it getting easier now? It's not getting easier. Because we have the society and all these different things, social media, that's making things seem like everything can be done just like that. Anything is just, you know, like magic. Right. You understand? So it's further impounding and this negative situation where people believe that they could just do one thing and then everything changes.
So speaking of that, what is your opinion on? Because I'm seeing online, there's a lot of women who all want to go to Oshun. And
I got stories about that.
Okay, I'm gonna let you tell me in a minute. They all want to go to Oshun, but are the reasons they're going to Oshun good reasons, or is it about, you know, power and people wanting to get into witchcraft and all this stuff, and they all want to go to Oshun?
Yeah, the Oshun thing is not even about witchcraft so much, but it's about the trauma that has been done to our black women, right? And it's deep, it's ingrained, and this is one of the things. So Oshun represents beauty and all of, you know, those type of things, sensuality of what some people would say, right? And that level of attention is what a lot of women are fighting for. So they figure by going to Oshun, this is going to help them to embody these different things, right? Some people take it even further because some of them, again, because of traumas, they may have more promiscuous ways of thinking, right? And from their minor research that they have done, you know, Oshun had this man and that man. I listen, wherever they get it from, that's how they look at it, right? And then it's a way for them now to feel comfortable in being like that. When we start to check back some of those things, on how did they get to that? How did they get those feelings? A lot of the women have been sexually assaulted. These things have been hidden away inside of them. They become less concerned about the state of their body and how they use it and so on and so forth. Now they're looking for a reason to say, well, this is the reason why I'm that way. Well, Oshun had how much? It's so many different things that all lead back to a sense of trauma.
Right.
And like I said, I've encountered it numerous times. Like, you know, there was a woman that came one time and, you know, she swore up and down that she was Oshun. She made a little business. It was Oshun something. You know, she liked to have a lot of boyfriends, so that made her Oshun too. And then she came and she asked me to, she wants to know who Orisha is. And I said, okay, cool. And I went to IFA and you know, we went to IFA and so forth and he said, oh yeah. Well, when I told her that, I never saw her again. I never saw her again.
Right.
And yeah, that's just the reality of it. But it's a deeper problem. A lot of it is not even witchcraft and power. It's that they're looking for something that aligns with self-worth, a higher level of self-worth that they're looking for, and they believe that it's within Oshun, you know, because it's beauty and all of this type of stuff that they can get it.
Right, and I think that's part of it.
And then Oshun being one of the most recognized female Orisha for the most part.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's like they're treating her more of a celebrity than an Orisha.
Yes.
Right.
If that's the case.
And they're also looking at the image of Oshun more in the West because, you know, through the Cuban system and other ones, they focus on the beauty. In traditional Nigeria, that's not necessarily
The
case. You know, she's powerful. There's a lot of things she can do. Now, and she's not the only, I mean, Orisha in general, they had them moving around. I mean, Oya had multiple husbands, the other ones too. It's not just Oshun.
Right.
But they make it seem like it's, you know, how, you know, promiscuous and all of that. But yeah, it's sad that people have that. But most people that come to IFA for counseling, they come because they have problems and issues. So, you know, it's just part of it that we have to counsel and deal with that. Yeah. But like you said, to just say, to be promiscuous and say, okay, I'm being like Oshun, so it's okay, also can be looked at as looking for justification for our actions versus dealing with them with reality and trying to improve ourselves and change and say, oh, well, Oshun was like that, so it's okay, I can continue to be this way.
So, and listen, this is, again, we have to go back to colonialism. We have to go back to slavery. We have to go back to all of these things because this is we're talking about the faith directly, but this is a general problem with our people, period.
Definitely.
Right? The more we talk about the reason why, you know, black people are not unified, why the African Americans are a certain way, so on and so forth, whatever, it brings us right back to that point. But the fact of the matter is, at this point now is if we can know enough to know that that's the reason, the question is, what is the work that we're going to do to change it?
Right.
We know what caused it. What are we going to do now to change it? It comes back to that.
Well, I would like you to expound on that because I know you say we know, but we may know. A lot of people may not know. So what do you?
Well,
Could you expound on that a little bit?
well, what I was going to say about that though is that's an issue that I've been looking at for a long time. I've been thinking about way back when I was in college, and my second major was African Studies, and I kept saying, if we know the answer, how are we going to do the solution? For me, the answer was always education. We have to learn our history, because I also saw outside of the religion that we've been saying buy black forever, decades and decades and decades. We're the only people in this country that we have to beg to say, support yourself in business. So why is that? And people would say, oh, well, let's just have a campaign and tell people to buy black. To me, it's not going to work like that until you change the deep mindset and beliefs that we have of a low self-esteem and self-hatred, not knowing our history. To me, it was always, you have to learn who you are, you know, truthfully who you are, to build your self-esteem. Then we could truly support each other, in my opinion, because all the other efforts I've seen from the 60s, from the 70s, from the 80s, they all failed. There's all kinds of buy black movements, support black movements. They do a little bit, then they fade away. They do a little bit, they fade away. I look at it as our self-concept and low self-esteem or self-hatred as the root of it. And I feel like we have to deal with that to move us forward, or to me, everything else is just window dressing if we don't deal with the root belief system.
Right. And that's exactly what I was saying about the traumas and so forth. So the everything that you said is absolutely factual. We got to deal with what it is that, who we truly are, what we came from, what we've been through.
Right.
Right. That has helped. People do not understand the concept that over time, genealogy changes. So if you've been subjected to certain things for a long enough time, your genes change.
And that gets embedded in you.
That gets embedded in you, right? Like if any one of us is placed in the cold for a long enough time, our complexion will change. Our nostril size will change because our body's going to adapt, right? There's a lot of Caucasian people, if you tell them that they're racist, they'll pass a lie detector test saying that they're not, and they really believe that they're not. They don't understand that their behaviors are innately racist because they just came up. It wasn't like, some of it wasn't taught, it's inherent, right? And it's the same thing with us as a people, right? We don't support one another because that was beaten into us for a long enough time that it's in our genealogy. So part of the teaching, we have to really impress on people what those levels of slavery and colonialism did to us. That is a level of understanding that needs to be gotten.
Right.
And then how do you actually reverse that?
Right.
Right? Because even up to the point when black people, especially in this country, were released from slavery, and then they built towns that started to very easily. This is why some of the older freedom fighters would have said segregation was not a good idea. I mean, integration was not a good idea, right? Because when we were segregated, we still went back to depending on one another,
right,
and supporting one another. Black Wall Streets were built. Big millionaires were created, so on and so forth. When they saw that, they went again on another rage, burnt down towns, and then caused integration, right? They brought integration into play, where they placed black people in areas where they could not get control of their surroundings. Most black people, where we live, all the stores and everything is owned by other people, other classes of people, right? So that would be the education of the point that needs to be pushed at this point, but it's like a whole history dynamic that needs to be understood at this point in time. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, and I believe, this is just a theory of mine, I believe that if we change the if we change the perspective, then maybe we can change the people. So when people start talking about colonialism, they start talking about slavery, there's still the question as to why. Why did that have to happen? Sometimes you can't get people to believe in God because they're like, this God that you're talking about caused us to be in slavery or allowed us to be in slavery, right? So then why? So then, but if we shift the thought pattern of people, right, in this sense, well, we look at Africa, we say to ourselves, Africa has everything that's necessary for survival, everything that's necessary for wealth, everything so forth, right? Why would we naturally leave a place like that that's probably 80% underdeveloped in totality, where it means it has more than enough space for expansion? Why would we naturally leave there, right? And then we look at how the world in general progressed because Black people came out of Africa. When we look at the inventions, when we look at the different technologies and so forth that has caused the world to move forward. Now, it could have happened from inside Africa and then extended out, but again, that's a speculation, and we don't know where that would have went.
Let me ask you this, because just from what I've seen in places, one of the explanations they like to give is that because Africa was so plentiful, it didn't push people to accelerate technology and things like that because Africa was more plentiful versus the harsh weathers of Europe and Asia. That's just some things that I've seen out there.
But you already had technology there. I mean, because they're still amazed by how the pyramids were built. Yeah. So technologies were already starting to progress.
Right, and even in West Africa, was his Mansa Musa was the richest person, even in today's of all time. He had so much gold and stuff. See, if you go all the way back in history, you know, it's different. Africa, like he said, spread around the world way back, time of Kemet and Egypt, and we spread around the world way before then, before the Europeans came and the Arabs came and slavery. We were already around the world spreading technology and culture. But, you know, there's things that happen. But one thing I would say back to my self-esteem thing is like when you was talking about desegregation at first, and then they flipped it to integration, forced integration. It was just, we want to eliminate desegregation, meaning that Blacks can flow where they want to flow. Right. Then they switched it to integration, where we're going to bust you and make you go places. But one thing that happened is, like you said, before then we had all of when we were forced in segregation, we built wealth, we built Black Wall Street, we had all these places. But as soon as they did integration, and even, I'm gonna get controversial, but even when Martin Luther King was pushing for that, because he wanted Black middle class to be able to ride on the bus where they wanted and flow here. When we did that, as soon as our people had the chance to leave supporting Black businesses, they did it. They ran out to everybody else's, and our economies died. Because even during that time, there was a Black-owned bus company, I forgot which city in South Carolina. They had the whole city, they were doing well. During that movement, they went to Martin Luther King and said, why are you pushing our people to go on the white buses? We have our own buses, we should support ourselves. He still pushed for the integration of the buses, and once that happened, the Black buses went out of business because our people stopped supporting it. So we fled away from our own stuff, which killed our own economy and what we could do. My theory is a lot of that has to do with low self-esteem and self-hatred.
Yeah, what was beat into us. It's back to the colonialization and the slavery dynamic of the situation. But you see, in getting a person to release certain things, you got to put them in a bound situation, right? So we were pushed into segregation. We were bound into that.
Right.
And it forced us to start to develop past the habits that they had created for us.
Right.
It's just that it didn't last long enough for it to genealogy, to change us in that way. You understand what I'm saying? It didn't last long enough for it to become inherent, that it just becomes natural, that it just becomes what we do. So as soon as those bounds opened, it caused us to flee back to what was beaten into us, where we're looking now for the slave master's approval. We're looking now to be accepted by them.
Right.
And yeah, that's where it all fell apart there, right? But that was the difference, that was the very big difference between Martin Luther King and Malcolm X.
Right.
That was the very big difference.
It was. So in general, since we focus on this podcast for people that are new or people that are lost, what kind of advice would you give somebody coming into this culture and religion today? What advice would you give them on how to be successful at it?
Well, the what I would say is come in with a very open spirit to learn and relearn. And really, if you're in search, be in search of self.
Right.
There could be outside influences that have drawn you in. The love of Oshun, the love of the Orisha. Understand that just like certain traumas are underneath, that love that you're looking at the Orisha and so forth is actually really a search for the love of self.
Right.
So come in looking and being open to find that.
Right.
Not an easy fix, not magic, but truly the love of self individually and collectively.
Right.
Right? And understand this. If we take it back to like the Bible, understand that the children of Israel never abandoned their ancestry. The Bible would tell you that when they were moving from one place to another, they would dig up the bones of their ancestors and take it with them. Right? So now, if you want to even mimic, Christianity, understand, even Jesus that they talk about, he never gave up what he had come from. He had a difference in opinion on how they were operating. He did not agree with separation of people, but he never said that he was not a Jew or a Hebrew. You understand what I'm saying? If you want to mimic something, understand that. And then understand that where our greatest power, unity, love, wealth lies is where our ancestry came from.
Right. And one last thing I would say about that too, I agree with everything you just said. Part of the self-hatred, like you said, where we come from, there's people that try to divide and say, oh, but Africans sold us into slavery, it's their fault. And what they don't understand is, first of all, there were some leaders of some different countries who participated with Europeans to sell our people. But the other part they forget is you ignore the fact that families were torn apart. You act like Africans sold us, but if you sold somebody's child, if you went and captured, like Maluo said, like what they used to do there in their villages, you'd be in your village. They would come, set your place on fire. Everybody would run out. They would have people set in certain places. They would capture some people, so it could be your brother, it could be your child. They run off with them. Now that family sitting there and their family was torn apart, you don't think they suffered that their family was torn apart, that every African sold all of us African Americans into slavery and they're all guilty? When you look at it that way, they weren't the leaders And the leaders, some of them were different cultural groups. Like Baba Wande says, for the Yoruba, the Fulani are still raiding Yoruba farms today. They're still kidnapping people today. They participated in kidnapping people back then. Later, the Yoruba became one of the largest groups that come over to Brazil and Cuba in slavery because they were being captured by other groups. So it's not a situation that all Africans sold all of us into slavery, so we need to hate them. They don't look at it, and then they act like they don't deserve reparations. If your family's tore apart and your family members, if you're sitting in your house and somebody comes and steals your children and takes them to another country, you as the parents don't deserve any reparations, along with the children and their ancestors. You both deserve it, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of things. So they don't understand the full history of the situation. They don't understand that there were a lot of fights that happened to try to stop the situation. They don't understand. I heard someone give a very potent point. If people were not fighting against it, then why were they building forts?
Right.
To protect themselves? What was the need for that? You understand what I'm saying? They had forts built up in different places, the ports and so forth, to protect against those who were fighting against the situation. Right? Let's not get it twisted in any form or fashion. Humanity is not perfect.
No.
Right? So no culture is perfect. Europe was totally divided, fight against one another at a very high level. You understand? The Irish people were looked at as like the slaves of the white.
Yeah.
You know, so don't get it twisted. Like, you know, that we're the worst of of humanity because there were some levels of, you know, back and forth between villages or whatever. I mean, it's normal thing. Even Ifa speaks about it. Because Oromila at one point asks, you know, why did you make so many different types of people? Because it's only going to create strife. But that was just the nature of the dynamic, right? That's how man was created. So it's only an excuse to embrace what needs to be done to help us as a people.
Right.
And again, it goes back to exactly what they beat into us from those times.
Right. Okay. So I guess we can wrap up here. So tell me what you have coming up. You have any plans or things that you have?
In the book too.
Your book here. Promote your book.
Right. Well, you know, our temple is always very busy in New York with various festivals and so forth. But as far as that goes, you know, if you follow us on Instagram, Osakaran Temple on Instagram, you will always know everything that we do. You know, we have regular Ęgbę feedings, community-based. All of our festivals are open to community. Our Shango Festival is coming up on May 9th. At the Memorial Weekend, we have our Ęgbę Festival coming up, and then we go into June, we have Egungun Festival. We have our traditional Trinidadian style Orisha feast at the end of June. July, we have our Yemoja Festival. And in September, we have our IFA Festival and our Oshun Community Festival, where we bring Oshun out into the community, block off the block, and have it like a block party type dynamic. And then we end the year off in November with our Oya Festival. And so we have a lot going on, but my thing is just to get, just to get the word out, just to continue to get, just like the work that you're doing, just continue to get the word out to people who are looking, whose spirit, whose Ori is directly searching.
Definitely.
You know, and that's it. I mean, and then I have my book where I just, it just came out, just wrote, Your Divine Light and Alignment Through the Power of Prayer, right? This is a book that really I didn't intend to write, right? I was going to write something for the membership of the temple, talking about the morning prayers of Ifa and the significance of them, you know, what they're trying to teach us and so forth. And as I put pen to paper, it turned into a book on prayer.
Okay.
And really and truly, it is just a book on me in this regard because, like, I believe, like, prayer is my cornerstone. One of the main things that, again, coming into this faith that people just don't understand is that prayer is so necessary. They believe that bringing a goat or a chicken or something like that is going to help. And, I mean, is the end-all be-all to the situation. They don't understand that prayer is what has to back that. They don't understand Ęgbę and what it really actually is, which is a bunch of prayers,
Right.
in-depth prayers that changes lives, right? But even beyond that, on a personal note, it's through prayer that we start to feel that alignment. It's through prayer that when we set aside dedicated time to pray, in times when things are not moving, specifically in the mornings before things start happening, it's at those times when our Ori can get an organic connection to the divine in such a way that enlightenment starts to come in. So the book is really based on a significant point of power that we have in our possession just naturally if we're willing to give ourselves over to prayer.
Right. Regardless of whether we're initiated or not.
Or not initiated.
Right.
It is there.
Right.
Because that prayer is what's going to start to really connect our Ori in such a way that we can get the guidance to where we need to go to.
Okay.
So this is what the book is all about.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, great. Well, thank you, Baba, for
No, it was a
interview.
wonderful honor and pleasure to be here, and just to sit with like-minded minds,
Okay.
and discuss and try to see what IFA is going to bring through us that might be able to benefit
Right.
the world.
Definitely.
You know.
Definitely. And yeah, keep me posted. I would love to come up to
Definitely,
New York and.
definitely. I will send you all of the invitations for you guys to be a part.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right. Well, thank you for joining this episode of Talking IFA with me, Babalawo Salako. It was a great episode, I believe, in my opinion. I think you're going to also believe the same thing. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And we want to keep growing this movement. We're trying to build community. We're trying to give people the proper and right guidance on how to join this community in worship.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Irio, Odabo.
Dabo.